Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Okay, so let's have a look. So we are still moving up really strongly, actually. We're not far away from all-time highs. I think they're up here somewhere. So we're not a million miles away. So let's see how we get on today. Karina, good morning to you. We have Powell, we certainly do. Daryl, how you doing, buddy? So we seem to be just going sideways at the moment, in all honesty, so it's hard to know exactly what's going on, but we have had two legs up, so that's kind of played out. I think we had something like that. So it is the last day of the 80% off today. I'm hoping they have a good sale for the 4th of July. I'm guessing they probably will. So let's see how we get on today. So yeah, we got some news coming up in around about 30 minutes time, just under 30 minutes. So see how we get on today. So Little Hammer, how you doing, buddy? Okay, excellent. Okay. It's hard to trade this stuff, really. Jay, how you doing? Triple test, second entry short on the range. Yeah, it's a bit. The trouble is, my experience of this stuff, it's easy to get chopped up, but it does look like that. The thing is, it also kind of looks like a bull flag, so you don't know whether the thing's going to rock it up. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's a bearish wedge. Bearish wedge? Yeah, which is a continuation pattern. We go up, we come down, and then woof, we take off. So we've bounced here a bunch of times. So if that does work, I mean, we don't tend to follow patterns, but if it does work, you don't quite know when it's going to do it. Bullish flag, right. Well, I've got it on my little thing here. It's showing a bearish wedge. So it goes up like that, flat across the bottom and coming down. So it says a bearish wedge, but it's under continuation pattern. So we push up, we go like that, we're keeping the bottom, and then it takes off that way. I mean, whether it does or not, who knows? I've got one of these. It's called the Genius Trader. It's just on my my mouse mat. It just shows them all. Whether it'll work or not, who knows? But yeah, you can kind of see it's doing that, can't you? But then flat across the bottom. So I don't know why they call it a bearish wedge, because it's a bullish pattern. Well, it's a continuation pattern. I suppose it is slightly bearish, this section of it, but then we get that push up. So it's when we do it, you tend to think it's got 3 bounces on mine. So 1, 2, 3. Whether you call that a decent enough bounce, I mean, if we can push below there and then finish bullish, that might be the thing that takes it. But as I say, I don't pay too much attention to this. It's not really what we trade as such, is it? But it, you know, it does give you a good indication. If you had a nice long trade on here and it was a continuation pattern, then it might just sort of solidify your entry. I did pick up an evaluation a bit ago and just lost it before we started. Go. It happens. Oh, that's useful. The UK's safest places to live in a nuclear war. I'm glad we got Google. Just clear. It's confusing, isn't it, the Middle East at the moment? 1 minute there's supposed to be a ceasefire, next minute they're still firing missiles at each other. The world is a funny place. 94, yeah, so I'll cancel that. So let's see if we can get above this. You tend to think it clears, but I mean, if you look on the this range bar, we've had 1, 2, 3. We have had a bounce here. There is a higher low off the bottom, so it might not be terrible to go long there. It's kind of gone already. But the trouble is, you're trading right in the middle. So, you know what I mean? I still have that don't diddle in the middle thing going around my head. It's probably going to work. If it breaks above there, Yeah, I think it's made 3 points. I tend to try and avoid the middle, not quite. So it depends on where you got in, but I think it probably will. There's a bearish bar there may be a few stops there, so another tick, yeah. So that it would have worked. Trouble is, it is right in the middle, so but we are breaking out of this now, so maybe we break and then retest and then the thing goes up. Who knows? Exponential, how you doing, buddy? Sorry, I didn't see you there. I had something over my screen. So, we have broken out of this. So let's see where this goes. Yeah, it's showing the entry here on for a continuation pattern. And then you stop below there. So just out of curiosity, let's just drop an order in it. Well, a pretend order. Let's put the stop there. And it's showing 1 to 1.5 up here. Well, let's just see if it pushes up 1 to 1. So that is what it's showing me as one of these patterns. So the entry just above there. Yeah. See if it works, I know. They do. I mean, there are traders who obviously will, will trade these. So if there's enough people trading them, perhaps it'll work. Well, it looks like it's starting to. It's actually, as far as patterns go, it's probably as neat as you get, really, isn't it? We've had 2 clear legs up, nice and strong. And you can see how well it's using that top line and the bottom line, actually, really well. Patrick Whelan changes bull and bear flags, does he? A lot of people do, so I'm assuming the more people that do, the better, really. Just disconnect and reconnect a second. Not only that, we are moving up in a little micro channel as well, so. Most small cap stock traders do. Yeah, I suppose if it's a valid place, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So see how far we go. But on my little cheat sheet thing, it's shown me take profit right up here somewhere. So let's see if that does a 1 to 2. I think that's what it's showing me. See if it works. I mean, if 1 to 2, I mean, obviously it's a fair risk. You probably want to do it on micros. Or what is the risk? Is that 37 ticks? Is it? So no, it's more than that, isn't it? 5, 10. Where do we get in here? So it's about 8 points, isn't it? So if you did about 5 contracts, that would be 4 point risk. If you think about it like that. So maybe, I don't know, 3 contracts. But the reward, I would like to, go for trades with more profit. It'd be nice to have a strategy. But I mean, you know, if you're going to say that is a bearish wedge, which is a continuation pattern, it probably is not going to look much more obvious than that. Actually, you can clearly see that's two perfect legs up, nice and strong. And then obviously we're rattling around here, but we're obviously, you know, that's working really nice, isn't it? Super clean, and at the bottom as well. And so far, so good. Trouble is, when you talk about it and you know, you pretend, put a little fake mark in, it probably works. But as soon as you decide to trade it with real money, but you know, you don't expect them always to work. If it was simple as when you saw one of them, you went long here, took your profit up here, life would be easy. But I'm pretty sure it's not always that straightforward. I was watching a video last night, actually. You know, when you're watching something and you're not fully focused, I'm going to come back to it, actually. Let me just show you. It was a guy trading a strategy, reckoned it was an 80 or 85% win rate. It looked pretty straightforward. Let me just see if I can see it. It's called the Power of 50.
Get out to the right.
I'll just kill that. But what effectively it is I think you trade it. You have the highs of the highs and lows of the London Open, something like that. And when it pushes down, when it pushes up and tests the centre line, you go short there, stop up here, profit down here. Mr. Zinc, it's called the Power of 50 London strategy. Apparently it's got an 80 or 85% win rate. But a lot of these strategies, you know, take a long time to get the angle, but that seemed to be pretty straightforward. So if you're bored one night, have a look at that. Mr. Zinc, the Power of 50 London strategy. I started watching it and I couldn't fully focus at the time. There was other stuff going on in the room. So I thought I'll come back to that later. But he's trading on the 15-minute chart. So, you know, if you're bored for something to do one night, have a look at that. Patrick Wheeland. I was watching some of Nutty's strategy, yesterday, and he keeps playing those, what they call Ben and Rosie, these Amish singers. So I wanted to know what Patrick Wheeland had looked like as Amish, so I did a photo edit. Let me just make this out of the way. I did a photo edit of where is it? Yeah, I actually think he makes quite a good Amish, doesn't he? But really calms him down a bit, doesn't it? So I sent that to Nutty yesterday, actually. It kind of suits him, doesn't it, I think? Dumbs him down a bit, doesn't it? Now, what's going to go on here? I'm guessing we may test this. Is this going to be a wider channel? Well, so far it's working. I dare say it's probably going to come back and retest something, some bit of support, maybe along here or something. In fact, maybe probably there. I wouldn't expect it just to rocket off. So I haven't got on my Discord. Okay, so we had about so far so good. Well, it's working. Well, it's working so far. So maybe what's something like that. Trouble is, if you look at this, if you look at the range bars, it could be a failed breakout, couldn't it? It's hard to say, really. Wow. Okay. Kind of glad I didn't take that. It was looking good for a minute. Mind you, it isn't over yet, is it? Mind you, it may be bouncing off that centre line there, so 2 legs up with a pullback, bounce off the centre line and continue on up. Who knows? Yeah, see, Thomas Wade is just looking at a range. Let's get rid of that anyway. If it makes it to the top, we know it worked. Let's have a look what Dan's looking at. So we have got Powell talking, haven't we? Trouble is, it doesn't really do a great deal a lot of the time. Obviously depends what he says, but usually he's just being questioned, and he usually kind of keeps things close to his chest anyway. I think Mac was talking last night, wasn't he? Doesn't usually pay much attention to those. Okay, news is in 5 minutes. Jan, how you doing, my friend? Where have you been hiding? Have you been on holiday or something? You've been away for a bit, haven't you? Only where you were hiding. Had a week off myself, actually, one more or less. I was talking to Marco as well. He had a bit of time off recently. He said he felt burnt out. Not trading so much. Yeah, I don't blame you, mate. We had some nice weather in the UK. I think last week it was pretty warm. I think it was around about 28 to 30 degrees centigrade. So it was nice, actually. Dug my air conditioning unit out for the first time. Spent a bit of time in the pool in the garden. Did a bit of sunbathing. A little bit of reading. A few cold ciders. Okay, so now if this is a range here, we've had a break out the top. I'd expect one out the bottom. I wouldn't necessarily consider this because we didn't really start ranging until about here, I don't think. Have we heard any news about that that plane that went down in India? it's kind of everything's gone quiet, isn't it? I suppose everything's focused on Iran and Israel at the moment. So, mind you, there's been some terrible things lately, isn't there? That air balloon that went down in that caught fire in Brazil. Shocking that was. Okay, so a bullish bar there. Channel break new low. You wouldn't want to go long there. It triggered you and pretty much going to stop you out and test this bottom. I'm guessing we're probably going to have a drop out the bottom somewhere at about like that, I think. We had a break out the top off and that gives us one at the bottom, so we'll see. Must have been a loss of thrust. It seemed that way, didn't it? Trouble is, if you have a loss of thrust at that height, you just got no time, have you? There's not a lot you can do. Obviously, you know, once you start to lose power, the more height you got, the better your chances, really. But it's sad to see. I mean, air travel's so safe now; it's unreal, isn't it? And I suppose the one thing that comes out of any of these disasters is they thoroughly investigate it and put any extra. Any additional safety measures in to obviously stop things happening again. And, I was reading something a while ago about 2 minutes of the news about what's the airline, Dubai airline. It'll come to me. I think they've been in business for about 38 years and never lost a plane. I mean, that is just goes to show, doesn't it, how safe air travel is. I mean, that is a good record, isn't it? It's a record that you want to keep. 38 years and never lost a plane. Emirates, yeah. I mean, yeah, that surprised me actually. I was really surprised. 38 years or 36 years, something like that, without ever losing a plane. How amazing that is. Just goes to show how safe air travel is, really. But yeah, it's kind of, it was all in the press, wasn't it? And then obviously, it kicked off a little bit more with Israel, Iran, and obviously the US. Doing their bit, and then it's kind of faded off into the background. I dare say we'll hear something in the not so distant future. Should not happen. Yeah, it is unusual, isn't it? Yeah, it's not something you hear. In fact, I do watch a lot of those programs on Discovery about planes, and I was watching one actually a couple of weeks ago, just before that happened. I think it was the 747 that lost all 4 engines. Turned out they went through an ash cloud. I forget where it was now, but that was they had no idea, did they? What was happening. You'd think you'd have come across something like that before. And then we had something in, was it Iceland or somewhere? I think it might have been Iceland where they had that big ash cloud, which I know it created a lot of. Okay, we got the news now. That created a lot of problems with air travel around the UK. I think was that was one of the places where we kind of noticed it. But I was surprised they kind of had no inkling that it may have been something to do with that. You think it may have happened in the past sometime, but I suppose we're always kind of learning new things all the time about life in general, aren't we? So loss of thrust in 2 engines, not in the lottery. It basically never happened. Yeah, and obviously one engine, you can fly on one engine, can't you? It's enough power to sort of keep you airborne and get you to the next sort of safest runway. I mean, it is amazing airline travel. The safety, the backup computer, and the backup computer, and all this sort of thing. Everything's it's just improved dramatically, isn't it? Now, market is flickering around a little bit. I'm guessing it's probably something to do with Powell. But yeah, we did drop out the bottom. I was expecting it to actually close a bit more, not just dip into that. It did close a little more, but it did, more importantly, clear off any liquidity there. It just came down by a tick and cleared everything out. So but then we get kind of a doji, which doesn't really give us much. Trouble is, I wouldn't take something like that because I still wouldn't be surprised if that came down a little lower. No idea what happened there. Yeah, it's pretty unusual, isn't it? I think because there was, there was video, if it was any kind of bird strikes, you'd have had some sort of visual evidence, wouldn't you? I mean, birds are a problem, aren't they? You'd think there'd be some way I kind of wonder whether you could put some sort of a dome or some kind of a mesh cover over some of these endings, but it affects the airflow apparently, doesn't it? So, I mean, it would work, but obviously if it affects the, I mean, those engines are sucking in huge amounts of air, aren't they? So, it's surprising even if you put something mesh in there that affects it. I suppose it stands to reason, doesn't it? Yeah, I believe so. In fact, I thought about that a few years ago, and when it recently happened, there was some safety guy talking about it, and somebody mentioned it, and that was sort of put to bed pretty quickly. No, of course you wouldn't know. No. No, if you're going to shut an engine down, you wouldn't do it that low, would you? You wouldn't have a chance, would you? Yeah, he's a pilot. He's the one that flies you away on your holidays. Not that I've had a holiday recently. There is a higher low there off this bottom. My only concern here is one, Powell is testifying, and two, we had a break out of this range. We could get a slightly larger one down the bottom. I wouldn't necessarily consider that a breakout. We did clear any liquidity, so maybe that's good enough. But at the moment, I don't really want to go long right into the EMA. You've just got no room there. So we could get a second. It's just hard to know, really, isn't it? You like to trade instead. I think flying kind of gets in your blood, doesn't it? But I mean, you don't have to do it for a job. You can do it as a hobby if you enjoy flying. Plenty of accessibility. I know I had a flying lesson for my 40th birthday, and I had about 6 or 7 more after, but my job changed at the time, so I never carried on. Yeah, that's why I asked him. Mind you, I spoke this. I mean, there's been a lot of pilots give their theories, but I suppose ultimately, the one thing we've got, or that's available is the video evidence because it was so low. So that rat, that motor or whatever it is that drops out the bottom, that was visible, wasn't it? So that would give apparently some sort of indication there was a loss of something, whether it was power or hydraulics or what. I'm just guessing. I don't know much about. I'd call myself an airline fan, but the details about it. You saw the video, yeah. It's hard to know what's going on here. It really is. There was a higher low there, but I left it alone. I'm just not sure whether we're going to have this out the bottom. There's a second entry short there, so this may kind of be this may push up. It'd be interesting to see if that works, because there is a short failure there. Trouble is, you're going into the midline again. There's some support along here. So, and not only that, it's kind of like we've got this channel down on the range bar or the range chart, and we got two pushes up, and this looks like it may come bearish. There is a failure there. There's a second entry short, which triggers. Looks like it's a failure, but that hasn't stopped out, so it could be like a double trap. And as I say, because we've had that break out of here, I would avoid this until I can see a significant break. Whether we get one or not is a different matter. But we've got two pushes up now on this range chart, and both bearish bars. And there's going to be traders, I'm sure, below there, certainly below here, so this may come down. It's hard to say. So this is one of those scenarios that could shoot up or it could come down. But as we've bounced off that bottom, you'd probably say it's more chance of going up, but because we've had a break there, often we get one more or less the same size. Although we've had a small break, we have cleared liquidity. It wouldn't be significant enough for me to trade this without sort of a reasonable amount of certainty that we're going to go up, and I haven't got it at the moment. So what I will say is there's going to be liquidity under here. So it may come down, clear this out and push up. I don't know at the moment, but I wouldn't want to be long. So I'm glad I didn't take that. I wouldn't have got the 3 points above that higher low. It is off the bottom, but because of this, that's why I've left it. So if I went, yeah, see, okay, so yeah, break out the top, break out the bottom. So it was a good call to take that, because ordinarily off the bottom, there'd be no reason not to take that. Yeah, it worked for, yeah, I go for 3, but it's got to push 3 1/4. So if you went a tick above there, you'd have got 2 1/4, depending on where you got in. It would have had to touch that for me, so it wouldn't have worked anyway. But whenever you get one of those out the top, I know you may argue, well, that's technically a breakout. Well, I wouldn't really say that really started to range until this area here. So when we have a breakout here, we often get one more or less the same size, and it's about as close as you can get there. So not only that, there could be 2 legs there. So if it's going to go up, this is where I would suggest it's probably going to go from. So there is a bullish bar there on that range chart, and that, I'm guessing, would have made 12 ticks comfortably. Trouble is, there's always the possibility we could be doing something like that. It's not the worst looking channel in the world, so if you took a higher low here, it may trigger you and give a second entry short. So I'm just a bit uncertain what I expect here. I was kind of hoping we get a break out the bottom to match that, so that's one positive note, but it depends what happens here, really. The bottoms fit nice, so it could, sorry about that, it could continue down. We'll see what it does. So that is a possibility. Let me just kill that colour. So it's an area of interest. Have we ticked above that green bar? We have, haven't we? Yeah, so let's see what happens here. Yeah, I suppose the one thing about your job is you're away a lot, aren't you? At least with trading. You got a youngster, haven't you? So at least with trading, you're much home all the time. So it's got its benefits, especially if you've got a family, especially a young family. I know another trader buddy of mine who's just recently had a baby a month or two ago. So it's kind of a use. Well, I say that. Trouble is, babies are quite unpredictable. They tend to need feeding when they want, not when you've got time. So it's been about 16 years since my taste of having young kids around. So you kind of got to sleep when they sleep, so they don't necessarily fit into a trader's life. But you know, you could squeeze an hour or two here or there. So it's certainly the easiest job to do, I think, if you're at home when you've got kids, because you've got that freedom to just jump on the screens whenever you want. Have you got kids, have you, Karina? Are you a mum or not? You look too young to be a mum. Yeah, kids are hard work. They suck up a lot of your time, but it's fun. It's hard work, but it's fun. But it is a worry, I got to say. I struggled with it initially when my daughter was young. Scary times, but now she's older. No kids. You're not that old. What are you, in your 20s, I'd say, Karina, aren't you? Early 20s? You're not that old, are you? Plenty of time for children. Plenty of time for that. So we've pushed up, bounced off the bottom. Now this is either going to come down or it's going to push up. What do I think? It's a tough one. The world is a mess. It is a mess, yeah, but I wouldn't let that stop me. I think we kind of waited till we were kind of financially okay. But yeah, it's a mess. But, you know, I wouldn't let that stop you. You're only young. You got plenty of time. Plenty of time for all that stuff. Always has been. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every generation that we're aware of have had problems, haven't they? There's always something, really. I suppose there's always a reason to say this, that, and the other. But, you know, sometimes you got to... I do what I do when I see a lot of these videos of these starving kids in Africa. I do wonder why, certainly from my point of view, why I would even consider bringing a child into a world when I couldn't guarantee that I could feed or clothe it. It does wonder, you know, I do wonder why people have children in some of these countries. Yeah, you take it easy, Jan. Especially when you don't know whether you're going to be able to feed them. I don't think I could do that. Yeah, I suppose so. You know, I know there's never a great time to have kids, but if I couldn't feed me kids, I'd have to seriously consider whether or not to, you know, to have kids. But yes, I mean, you see some of these kids and, you know, they're skinny as rakes, they're sick, they got all these diseases, there's not enough clean water, there's not enough. I don't think I could bring myself to have kids. If life was like that. I know it's not a lot of their fault, but even so, you know what I mean? You bring a child into the world, you've got a massive responsibility. Yeah, I don't doubt there's a lot of that. I don't doubt there's a lot of that going on, yeah. And birth control, but there's always the pull-out method. It worked for me. It worked for me up into my early 20s. I never got myself, strange subject to go into, but I never got myself into trouble. My younger days, I don't remember using any kind of birth control. I just used the pull-out method. Oh well. That's a strange end to the conversation there on my behalf. That's the mentality of a teenage lad, that is. So I'm going to get rid of this now. My guess is, well, I don't know how far it's going to go. It needs to get above all this, I think, doesn't it? If it can get above this, we may get a push up. But so that where was the entry? So that what were we talking about? In fact, it was there, wasn't it? Was it there? We're talking about that sort of bearish wedge, which is a continuation pattern. We bounce on there. That would have been the entry, wasn't it? I think. Oh no, tell a lie. Tell a lie. It was up here, wasn't it? That was it. So that was the entry. And it did go up a fair amount, but not as high as the diagram said it should have done. It just goes to show diagrams don't really work that well. Never trade based on what your mouse mat is telling you. So it's just hard to know what's going on at the moment. In fact, while it's doing this, I'm going to take a quick break. There's nothing you can really do here. I mean, it is ranging really. Obviously, you know, we kind of know the only real options here is short in the top and long in the bottom. But trouble is, it's kind of bouncing at different areas. There's nothing I could have seen which would have interested me to go long here. Different story. If you'd have gone long off there, it would have worked. If you'd gone long off there, it would have worked. And long down here, it would have worked. So the only trouble is sometimes this range chart, there seems too many good entries to trust. But, you know, we've got two legs down here. We've got like a correction there. There's a bearish bar there. That worked. We came down, pushed up 1, 2, 3, triple test. That worked. You could say 1, 2, 3 bounces off the bottom. That worked. Second entry long off the bottom. That worked. Channel, small break, new high, bearish bar, trapping some longs. That worked. Break out the bottom. That worked. Second entry short here. That worked. Just seems a bit too good to be true, this. And it's very hard to trust something that looks too good to be true. But trouble is, we've had this sort of move up, haven't we? Are we at the right day? Yeah, we've had this move up. And then we've kind of got a higher low there. We've got another bullish bar, which worked. That bullish bar, which worked. Everything, every kind of setup. We got a channel up here with a break. 2 pushes to a new high. Bearish bar, that worked. Lower high worked. It does seem a bit too good to be true. I'm going to have to trade this one day solely on this. Just on maybe evaluation and take every trade that I think looks even semi-valid and just see how I get on. Because there looks like so many trades on here, it looks a little bit unreal, doesn't it? I mean, if I just mark trades which you would consider valid, we're ranging here. Triple test maybe there, that one possibly. There is a second entry long there. Fail breakout. There's that one there, channel down. I probably wouldn't take those actually because I expected it to do this. You got that channel up there with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. There's a bearish bar there. That may be a green one. There's a lower high. And I don't know, would you take some of these? It's hard to say, but every one of them worked. There's kind of 2 legs back, a bullish bar off the bottom. So there seems like a lot of trades, really. And anything that kind of looked like its trade worked, as long as you stayed out in the middle and just took your longs off the bottom and your shorts of the top. I don't know why I've got that upside down. There, lower high there. So channel break, new high, lower high. It kind of looks like a miniature kind of head and shoulders pattern. Shoulder, head, shoulder, bearish pattern came down. So that one I'd have probably taken. Out of all these, I think that's the one I'd have taken. That one, it's going a little bit sideways, but there is a bullish bar there which triggered below that bearish bar and it did push up. So I think it's pretty fair to say there's a good chance it's going to break below there, but it did work. Even the second entry short and the lower high both worked. Risky trades, I think, as we have come off the bottom, but because we'd had the breakout up here, I kind of expected it. That just wasn't enough for me, but it did what I expected. Not that I'd have been confident enough to take those. Just because we have gone a little bit sideways, you just never know, do you? But there does seem like a lot of setups there. And it kind of seems, if you look at this chart, it's absolute mess. It's a mess of wicks, isn't it? There's no trade. That one I don't think was a bad, well, there wasn't even a bullish bar there, but it's a train wreck of this. This is got some structure to it. You can kind of, see what's going on here. So the trouble is, I've been trading this chart for 4 years, and it's very hard, even though I look at this, it's very hard to just throw your whole trust in it. What I will say is I like it when the ATRs on here are close together. That makes trades on here a bit safer. Sometimes if the ATR is high, when I was looking at the 10 range bar and we had a 3 or 4 ATR here, there was a lot of times you got suckered into a cheap trade and it didn't work. But I think when those ATRs are within a point of each other, or maybe even half a point, I think you can trust some of these a little bit more. But this, you can't trade any of this. Nothing you can do here. It's just chopping all over the place. Nothing off the bottom. Off the top, possibly. It's hard to say. I'd have preferred a lower high, which we didn't get. There's no bullish entry off the bottom. So this is absolute crap. This looks really good. I just haven't built up the confidence to just trade this solely yet. But the more I look at it, the more, the more it interests me. Some days it's just looked rubbish, but other times it's not so bad. So anyway, I'm going to leave you guys to it just for 5 minutes. I'm going to go make myself a quick cup of tea, and I will be back. Dark. Okay, so where are we? Let's just get rid of these for now. Otherwise, I'm going to get questions. So there's a bit of a spike in channel. Sorry. It's not easy, is it? But my guess is, are you making a list of which whiskies you were going to take to your bunk? They're already stored there. Don't worry about that. They're already there. Do you know, I still think it is important. Absolutely. Absolutely. If I'm going to be stuck in a bunker, I want to spend most of my time wasted, to be honest with you. This to me is still bullish at the moment. I think we've got this big move up and we've made multiple attempts to push down. We've had this little drop out the bottom, cleared all this out the way, and this is working up now. So I'm guessing this is more likely to go up, especially after that. But it's hard to trade this at the moment. It's just lashing up and down without any real kind of... I mean, you may have argued there's a second entry short there, and it did work. But the trouble is, just when you just look at it, it just looks messy, doesn't it? So I think your natural instinct to say, I mean, this was early anyway. I didn't get to the charts till about, I think it was about 1:45 UK time, 45 minutes before. So I got the charts probably around here anyway, so all that had happened. But would I take that? It's hard to say. We've had 2 legs down, and it is a second entry short. Actually, technically, it's a failure as well, because there's... it's hard to say. It's probably not the worst trade in the world, and it did work and relatively quick. But it was just a bit too early for me. But when it's doing this, you just see all those wicks, and sometimes just that overall picture just puts you off. It's hard, isn't it? Hard to trade this stuff, really. Crypto's nice and green today. Everything's up. Bitcoin's up. Ethereum's up 6.5%. XRP's up 8.5%. Solana 7%. Doge 6%. ADA 6%. Sui's up 10%. Link's up 11%. So everything's having a nice push today. In fact, everything's up really. The whole markets are up in general. There's just nothing much you can do with this. A channel. They're breaking a new high. See, some have got their chart like that. Doesn't look terrible. I kind of like the way that compensated for that. Trouble is, we've had a bunch of touches there. That seems to work nice. We've had a little double tap of that. So break out the top, which failed, and a matching one at the bottom, which failed. I'm assuming Powell's finished his talk now, is he? 40 minutes, he might not. Sometimes you look on Bookmap, sometimes a lot of those orders, you'll get a section that goes black, won't you? So let's have a look. No, there's plenty there still. There's a lot of liquidity up here. Stack of it there. What's that at? 32 to 30, around 32 to 40 actually. So up here. So my guess is it's probably going to work up. So we've got a channel with a break, 2 pushes. In fact, there may even be a larger channel there. That wouldn't look terrible. Not sure about that. No, I'm not a fan. So channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. So if we get close to this time, then Chris, how you doing, my friend? How are you keeping? Good on you, mate. Yeah, it's a little bit, mate, isn't it? It's just chopping up and down, really. It's not really giving much. This is a story of our lives lately, isn't it? It does this a lot lately. It certainly is, mate, yeah. That's the key. Yeah, I mean, if you can sit through this, I've said a million times before, and I struggle with myself. To be honest, patience is not too bad for me. Taking losses, I think, remains my number one pain in the arse that I still kind of struggle with. Yeah, patience not too bad. But, as I've said before, even if you could take a few trades, if you can get 3 clear winners a week, depending on, I go for 3 points. It's $450 over a month. It's a good amount of money. And we know you can, trade multiple accounts. So there's plenty of money to be earned for not a lot of trades. So I think it's important on days like this is really just to sort of sit on that patience and just try and not let the patience get the better of you and just sit tight. And it's surprising all of a sudden. The trouble is when we don't get trades for a while, when they do happen in front of your eyes, you kind of doubt yourself and you question it. And before you know it, it's already got, I don't know how many times lately I've missed that. Before you've kind of thought, well, there's a setup there. Well, what do I do? Well, is it real? And then you sort of question yourself. And by that time, it's already gone. So the less, they come along, the more of a shock it is when you do get one. So we've got a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. There's a bearish bar form in there. So I'm still not sure whether to move this. See, if I move that there, I wouldn't take that. But if I move it back to where I originally had it, where we know there's support, you can clearly see it along there and there. And we had the breakout at the top, which failed. And often we get one, the opposite side, which we did and failed. But my gut feeling is this is bullish at the moment. We've had a strong move up and we're consolidating a bit. We can't get below here. We had one break, but then it failed quickly. So my guess is this is likely going to push up. Now, when it does it, is obviously a different matter. This could be a really fantastic bullish day, but if you're getting at the wrong place, it'll stop you out and then end up going up anyway. So it's kind of finding that entry, isn't it? But the trouble is, while it's going sideways, you can't really do anything bar short the tops and buy the bottoms. But the trouble is, when all this stuff is preceded by this big move up, your natural instinct is to think this is going to push up again. So I would prefer to take longs off the bottom rather than shorts from the top. But really, on the 2000 tick chart, we've had neither really. You may argue that was a go back. We got a channel with a break, 2 pushes, and it broke above here. So you may argue, and now I look at it, it's a very small risk anyway. That doesn't even look 2 points, to be honest with you. So if you go a tick above it and a tick below it, I mean, look at that. Tick above it, tick below it, it's 1.75 risk. That's just non-existent in today's. I mean, mind you, that ATR is very low today, but, you know, seeing a tick above, tick below, and only risking 1.75 points. To see bars like that, you've got to look at max charts from 10 years ago. So maybe that wasn't a bad option to go short. It was a small risk, even back to the EMA. So you haven't taken anything. Hey, Kenny, how you doing? Do you know, when I don't take any trades in a day, I'm actually I'm quite happy with that. I feel quite contented because I've done, you know, what I should. I've kept those patients. When there isn't any trades, the only way you get into a trade is to take a risky trade. And obviously, as we know, market's very clever in picking off cheap liquidity, and it doesn't do us any favors. So, you know, it's really good exercise sometimes to not take a trade. As I say, I'm quite confident. I feel like I've had a job well done. Now, obviously, I would have liked to have made some money, but you know, I've come to the conclusion that the market is the way it is, and you can't squeeze it, you can't strong arm it, you just have to sit and wait. And if you don't get a setup, but that's all our job is, to sit here, wait for a setup and take it. That's it. The money is a byproduct. It's easier said than done, of course, but you know, Pal Day, yeah. Is he still speaking or has he finished? I'm guessing he's probably finished by now. Mind you, he can rattle on for a while, can't he? So look. Trump wants interest rates cut. Federal Reserve Chairman says that cannot happen. I bet Trump ain't happy about that, is he? Trump kind of gets what he wants, or he likes to think that way. So, but I don't know if he's finished by now. I can't tell. Yeah. It's very easy sometimes, and it can be a little bit misleading. I know on the Facebook group, I know people like Marco and Dan post lots of trades. I know Marco doesn't always take them, but he's still mark them. But it's worth keeping that in mind, that just because someone marks a trade on a chart, it doesn't necessarily mean they took it. So, you know, for any inexperienced or less experienced traders out there that are watching, you know, don't automatically assume you're inferior because other people are making, and definitely don't look at max charts and think, why am I not seeing that many trades? Because in reality, there isn't. It's very easy to look at a chart after, and even after you've been trading a couple of months, you can look at a chart and see where trades were, because you know where they went. But in real time, we haven't got that luxury. We've just got to kind of hope it goes where we want. But you have to wait until there's a reasonable amount of certainty. You know, if I take a trade, I'm pretty sure I know where it's going, and you've got to be really. If there's doubts, I mean, when you're learning, as Max says, you know, you see a trade, take it, and that's how you learn. You know, if you think something's valid, you take it. It doesn't matter whether it wins or loses, and that's how you learn. But obviously, when you move on to money, it's a little more important to get it right, or to wait till, you know, you see a valid setup. But then obviously you've got the added emotions that sort of come with trade, especially if there's money involved, and that can influence how you trade. And that tends to be the last piece of the puzzle. You know, if you've been trading this a few years, you know, there's a good chance you can win more trades than you lose. So, you know, on paper, you're profitable, but obviously with that, once those emotions play a part, and we all know how much of a part they play, that can sort of, you know, that can change the outcome. If we were robots, I'm surprised more and more, I suppose, you know, a lot of institutions now more and more are using algorithms. The good thing about algorithms, yeah, they haven't got the maybe the ability to think on their feet like a human does, but there's no emotions involved, so that may tip the balance. So I don't know how much institutions use algorithms to trade. I'm guessing it's probably more than it used to be. Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to make money every day. It's kind of, the trouble is there's so much, in these forums and Facebook groups, and they tend to focus on how much people are making and how many winning trades they've got. They rarely focus on how much they lose or how many accounts they blow. So it's very easy to think that you're inadequate or there's something missing in your trading. And once you actually get into the reality, every single trader, when they're learning, is in the same boat. Yeah, there's probably one or two that pick it up super quick and they're very strong, with their emotions. They're not affected as much as other people. But for the most, if I get battered in the markets, a lot of people saying I've had the same day. So don't feel inferior if you're seeing some guy who's marked 4 trades for a day. I know when I started, I used to mark trades I didn't take, sometimes to make me look a little bit better than I was. So there's probably a lot of that going on. People, tend to post the good stuff and not focus or not post so much on the bad things that happen. But believe me, there's plenty of bad things happening to everybody. So don't let that, don't let people fool you and you think it's all champagne and Skittles. It doesn't work that way. Every single trader worth their salt has been battered in the market and been walked all over. It's kind of comes with the territory. You can't not experience it in this business. Everybody goes through the tough times. Everybody does. There's not such thing as a perfect trader or someone who's born to trade. Yeah, some people might have better self-control than others. That's a fact. Some people might have more emotional control. That's a fact. But with time, you do get better. It doesn't get so scary. Absolutely, emotions is greed. Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, but it does seem like everything's rosy, doesn't it? But it's not always a way. It's not always a way. Champagne and Skittles, you like that? That was off. What was that quote off? That was off an old Only Fools and Horses episode. That was from the 90s. Now, is this a channel? It looks like it may be. Trouble is, when we're ranging like that, you don't know what it's going to do here. I'll tell you who's good with patience is, what's his name? Joe, Trader Joe. He does take losses. I think I looked at a trade last week. He took a loss, but they don't seem at first glance to affect him that much. So I think he's going to do particularly well. Mind you, you don't know what goes on in the background. You don't know. We all have our tough times. I know, I talk more about things that I blow up, and obviously with Alpine in the past, you've seen him blow up multiple times, and Nutty as well. So you don't hear too much about Trader Joe, but just the way he talks, he comes over as quite calm. So I think usually you can spot someone who might be particularly good with emotions, and he strikes me as someone who's relatively well controlled. I certainly wish I had more. Yeah, he is. His trading's like the rest of us. He has his fair share of losses. But the losses aren't really important. It's how you deal with them is way more important than the losses themselves. There's no point in being the greatest trader in the world that if you take a loss, you go on tilt, But here's someone I think who's going to do extremely well in time. There's another one as well, used to stream. Wasn't a great trader, but he hadn't been trading long. I think it was called Black Bay trading. He was quite an inexperienced trader, and he lost a lot, I think. But that guy put in about 8 or 9 hours a day for a long time. And not many people do that. Joe, he has good self-control. Yeah, he does. Joe does. Yeah, absolutely. Nutty's a nice guy. I like Nutty. Alpine, I'm unsure with him sometimes. Sometimes he can come over quite arrogant with people. Patrick Wheeling's okay. When you see him nice and calm and talking, he's okay. But he's just too lively for me. He wears me out. He tires me out. But when I heard him just chat, when he interviews someone and he just chats, he comes over as a nice guy. But he's quite loud and brash, isn't he? So I think after a while he can just tire you out. But he does well for himself, you know. No matter what anybody else thinks of him, he does well for himself. You're in his Discord. Joe. Yeah. He's back to streaming. Oh, who is? Black Bay. I know Black Bay's in... Is he in... I think he's in Thomas Wade's, I think. I mean, he started, I think, a couple of years ago, and he was a complete beginner, and he was sort of learning on the job. He was losing his but I did say to him, actually, I messaged him once and I said, mate, the amount of hours you put in, fair dues to you. I couldn't sit here I used to sit here for quite a while, but I think 3.5 hours is enough for me. I do, spend other time watching this and that, but I can't trade for that long. It just zonks me out. Oh, he does. I haven't seen him trade for a long time, but he used to put some hours in. I'd look later and he'd be there 7 hours later, still plodding away. We all know, chart times. I used to trade a lot more than I do, but I think 3.5 hours is my limit now, I think. Yeah, but he puts a lot of hours in. Mind you, if you look at people like Thomas Wade, he'll stop for a lunch break and then he'll trade all day as well. I think Dan trades all day. I certainly think they do the best part of 6 hours. Bye money. I tell you something, I don't know what's going on with him lately, but he's got 20 really healthy looking accounts. I think he's got $8,000 or $9,000 in each of his PA accounts, and I know they're his PA accounts. So I don't quite know how he's done that, but he's usually all over the place, isn't he? There is kind of 2 legs back there. Trouble is, you're going long into here, aren't you? Which makes me a bit nervous. Yeah, I don't know what he's done, but whatever it is, it's kind of worked. Now, there is a second entry long there off support. Trouble is... Oh, there we go. That's not that one out the window. Woof. Okay. Well, as I was going to say, the downside to it, it's going to close up here. And as we're bouncing off here, I just don't see how you can take it, really. So I'm guessing Powell is still speaking. I can't see what else. Maybe there's sellers there. I don't know. Maybe there's... If you look there, drop below there, so maybe there's buyers there and sellers. I don't know. It's hard to know sometimes. You want to know what Thomas Way is doing this court? Absolutely. Here we go. He won't mind. There you go. That's Thomas's Discord. What's he looking at the moment? That's his chart at the moment. So he's more or less looking at the same thing as us, to be honest with you. In fact, he's got a better looking bar there. He's got a full red bar. I haven't really. So he's got that as a channel with a break to pushes to a new high. He'd be looking for a lower high there. If he got one, I wouldn't be surprised if he took that. But yeah, that's Thomas's Discord there. Black Bay's in here somewhere, I'm pretty sure he is. But he is a good trader. He does a package. I think it's something like $90 or $99 a month. You get this and you get all this training. I think that's valid as well. He's a genuine guy. Never frightened to show you a loss. That speaks volumes, I think, for a trader. But, you know, 34 minutes. What time was this? 38 minutes. 49 minutes. So he's regularly posting his chart. So, you know, if you're not sure about something, same again, 1 minute after 4. So if you're not sure about stuff, he's a valid trader. And also the other one I use is Dan as well. That's Mac's chart there. So Mac, yeah, he's got more or less the same. He's looking at the same thing we are. He's got a bigger 2 legs up here. Yeah, he's had nothing here, but this is a good place to go. What I will say is about Dan is very close to Mac. He does quite unusual looking bars, but he's very good at what he does. So he's a super trader, Dan is. And you got Marco in here. These two guys have helped me out no end over the 4 years I've been trading Pat. So, you know, any charts you see with either of these two on, they know what they're talking about. So if you are relatively new and watch his chart and watch his chart every day. And I think he charges $25 per month as well to be part of this, which I think is great value for money. So either of those, they're both experienced traders. So and he also does a chart update where he updates his chart, and he does a chart review as well. Now this is what I would love from Mac. I'd love Mac to talk about what he's seeing like Dan does. So interesting actually. So it's good value for money, that is. So if you are interested, I think it's $25. It might be $25 plus tax or something like that, but it's under $30, I think. But yeah, Marco's got the same thing as me there. I was just a bit unsure about it, but he's got kind of the same thing. Well, man, a guy absolutely is, yeah. You never hear anything nasty or negative to him. He's always very pleasant and very accommodating. He's a super guy, he is. But one of the very few traders out there which are quite happy to show you his losses. A lot of people avoid it. I kind of get it. You know, I think some traders think showing, you know, it makes them look weak. No, it doesn't. I watched Tom Hugard trade in maybe a few months ago. I saw him take 2 losses back to back. We all know Tom Hugard is he is very humble. Yeah, he's a nice guy actually. So either of those, I believe Dan's got a website as well. I'm not sure whether it's up and running yet or not, but I'm gonna have to ask him. And Marco has as well. Marco's got a website. That he does some form of teaching. But both of those, well, all 3 of them actually, are all solid traders. Channel break, 2 pushes. There is a bearish bar here, but I'm just a bit unsure what to do here. So if we get a lower high on this range chart, I might have a go. Because we've had a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. Trouble is, after we've had sort of 2 pushes, my gut feeling at the moment is this is still likely to push up. But it's tough on, really. In fact, I was watching a few of Thomas Wade's older ones, and you can see how he's come on over the last 4 years. His trading back then was a lot poorer than it is now. That's probably not the best way to do it. But some of his trades, I'm thinking, oh, I wouldn't take that. And he got stung, but he doesn't mind showing them, and that's what I like. But you can see the difference between then and now. It's quite quite fun to look at the older videos of some of these some traders, because you can see how they've developed. The trouble is, if that is there, we may now, because of this, get a break out the top. There is a small one, but it's not significant enough, I don't think. But yeah, he's a very polite guy, Thomas Wade is. You have a comment, he always gives you a, you know, a nice message back. And there's, you know, plenty of other good traders on there as well. I know Taylor is, I think Taylor's on both of them now. But he's another trader that's been around for a fair few years. Same again, you know, he's come out and said in the past he's found things tough. He went through a tough spell maybe 8-10 months ago where he seemed to struggle. I think we all do at some point. You know, I had a great 5 months, and the last month I've just fallen on my face a few times. I can't seem to, but I think that week off has reset me a little bit. I can't emphasize the importance of taking a break off if you're frustrated or something isn't going your way. It is, you're welcome, mate. If something's not going your way and you're having a tough time, rather than keep throwing money in it, I think it's, you know, it's a good idea to take a break. If a week off does you the world of good, it really resets stuff. I've done channels like that before, but when I posted them, Dan goes, not for me, but it's hard to say, isn't it? So there is a bearish bar there, like Max says, when it's like this, short the tops, buy the bottoms. It wouldn't be the worst place to short, but now it would, see. That's why I always wait for the lower high, so that pushed straight up and stopped out. So that's a good reason why I don't pick tops. You know, Mac will say, so let's have a look at this range chart. So we push up, we got a break, we had 2 pushes to new high, bearish bar, cleared out liquidity, what happened, triggered. Second it triggered, boom, straight up and stopped it straight out. So that's why I don't like trading ranges, because I find them unpredictable. They tend to bounce at different places a lot of the time. On some occasions I will take them, but I think the much safer option is the lower high. If you took that bar there on the range chart, you instantly got stopped out. If you wait for the lower high, you wouldn't have got stopped out. Yeah, it's a tough one here. Part of me is thinking my gut feeling is this is going to push up. So I just don't really know what to do at the moment. You know, there's always the possibility of something like this. Who knows, really? Kind of like a spike and channel. It's certainly possible. Or it could just be a range, and this thing's going to come down at the bottom. But we had a breakout there and a small breakout there. I think that's enough. It's frustrating to see that. You know, a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. It triggered, pushed straight up, stopped out, and then dropped. It is frustrating that it does that. Nothing more frustrating, and especially when it takes you out for a tick, right to the tick, which tells me my gut feeling is this is probably going to go up. If this was going to come down, that would be the place to short it above everything else. Now, I know this is a little bit different, but there is a bearish bar there. Well, is it closing its bottom third? You may argue I wouldn't take it. I've seen Mac, and it is a second entry short, but that triggered. Mind you, it did work, didn't it? It had got a small amount off it before it pushed up, but I wouldn't want to short it purely and simply because that bar didn't work after a break and 2 pushes. My gut feeling is this is not safe to go short here at the moment, so We may be moving up now. There could be something like that. See a bullish bar there, went out, stopped out the bearish bar, another bearish bar, went up and stopped out, another bearish bar, went up and stopped out, another bearish bar. We're going to push off again. It's not easy. I've explained it, but you didn't like the second entry short earlier past 3 o'clock. Let's have a look. That one there, I'm sure that's the one you're on about, isn't it? No, the trouble is, with us ranging at the moment, we've bounced off the bottom. Not only have we bounced, we've broken below the lowest part here. So it's hard to know, really. I'm not convinced that I know what's going on here. It did work, but it may have triggered and created a failure to push up. But as we've bounced off the bottom, I tend to... how you doing, Lance, anyway? Good name. No, I don't really want to go short as we've come off the bottom. I don't know whether it would work. So, small bar closed below the image. Yeah, it's not a fantastic bar. You know, we had a little wick on it. It is a second entry short, but I'm just not sure whether it's going to trigger you and push up. It's mainly why I wouldn't do that is because we bounced off the bottom. And not only have we bounced, we've broken below the lowest low as well. And so, as we know, sometimes price will do that. And as it's ranging, every time it's been to the bottom, it's pushed up at least to here. And as we have broken below any possible liquidity that may be there, my gut feeling is it's probably going to go up. You just never know. So it's not something that would have interested me, really. Yeah, I know. I just find the more I trade, the less trades I take. But I don't know sometimes whether you get a bit overcautious. It's just some news come out. We got to flicker around a minute ago. EU reduces retaliatory tariffs to secure better trade deal with Trump. German Chancellor backs more muscular approach ahead of July talks deadline. It's hard to know. See, there is a failure there and a bullish bar. Trouble is, while we're a bit sideways and at support, my gut feeling is as that bearish bar triggered and stopped out, I think it's probably going to continue on up. How far it goes, I don't know, but it's just, I don't really want to trade right there because it is a little bit congested and it's right at support. My gut feeling, as we've pushed up and bounced once, we've come off the top, we've come down and bounced, and we bounce again. My gut feeling is it's probably going to go up. But I don't like trading in these areas at the moment. Yeah, it's tough to know what's going to happen here. Is this, have we had a break? 2 pushes up to a new high. Is this going to go up, down? I've got no idea. Well, I would hazard a guess that there's going to be some stops above there, so it's probably going to push up, but at the moment it's just a bit unpredictable. Sometimes when we do this, we get a flick up in either direction, and that makes me a bit nervous. And I have to, I have to be honest with myself, and it is, although it is a little bit different on this, we have got a little bit of congestion there, so it does make that a bit more of a risky trade. It's not something that I would jump into, especially at the top, and the fact that it is doing that, it's hard to know where this thing's going to go. And on the 2000 tick chart, there's just nothing really, is there? There's no. I mean, it's looking like we may push higher, just based on what you just never know. It could turn. It's just a no trade zone at the moment for me. Who's the bloke in the thumbnail? You? Of course it is. Yeah. What? You didn't think that was that good looking? Of course it is. No. I used a rougher looking face to try and dumb me down a bit. I didn't want to create too much attention. No, I'm only kidding. I don't know. It's just some one-off Canva. When you pay for the premium version in Canva, it's just picture you get. I thought if I use my own picture, I may scare you off. Or just attract loads of women, and we don't want that, do we? We don't want that. Looking for longs, but no trade zone. Yeah, we don't want to fill the Discord, but we don't want to fill the channel full of women, do we? I don't need the attention. Life's stressful enough as it is. Still looking for longs. Yeah, my gut feeling is it's lightly pushing up. There may even be kind of some sort of two-tiered channel there. We got a leg up with a correction leg up. It is starting to look more and more like it, isn't it? Trouble is, it's still at this area, isn't it? Yeah, look. Dan's just hit the nail on the head. Hard to say what's in play. Exactly. I couldn't have put it better. I would have said, based on what I'm seeing, this kind of bouncing away. I've always jokes about other women. I said, can't barely. I know. It's hard enough having one woman in your life, isn't it? Yeah, I know. I don't know how these people have affairs. They must have so much energy. It's just trouble, isn't it? Yeah, seeing this push up and then this kind of consolidation, it looks like two attempts to push down. It does look like it's trying to move up. But when we're getting to kind of this area, it starts to go a bit sideways a bit. So there's obviously a battle going on at some way. Karina rolling her eyes early. No, all he's saying is we just like to dedicate all our time to one woman. We value you guys that much. That's what it is. That's what he's saying in reality. I'll just put it a little bit better for him. Yeah, see, we're struggling again, aren't we? See, so it's our day to trade today, I got to say. It's a messy day now. Sometimes that continues on, other times it something changes and it continues on. So is Powell still talking? Is he? I don't know. Let me have a look. How's the other guys doing today? Not too bad. I'll tell you, he's killing it at the moment. Is Alpine. I can't remember the last time he had a red day. He's green again. I don't know what he's doing differently, but I haven't seen him have a red day for a long while. Well done to him. Can't knock that. Oh, he is. Yeah, he is. He is still talking. That might be why it's just chopping about a bit without any sort of real with sort of uncertainty. So it's just chopping around, isn't it, really? And now and again, it'll just flick up or down. So whether that's anything to do with what he said, I suppose it may be. But it's just, there's not really much you can do here, really, is there, in all fairness? I don't know how long it'll go on for. It's been going on for an hour and 20 minutes, so... when it's like this, it's a good time to go do something else, I think, isn't it? How you doing? No trade still. I'm sitting on 2 winners. Good on you, mate. And I'm done for the day. Yep, you can't knock that, mate. If you get 2 winners, that's a good time to go and enjoy the rest of your day. Good on you, mate. Good on you. Yeah, if I'd have had a winner now, if I'd have been up a trade now, I'd have finished by now. Yeah, it's not brilliant today, mate, is it? If I'd have had a winner, I'd have finished now. How long have we going for? An hour and 50 minutes. It's a slow day, isn't it? You just kind of get a feeling. But just now and again, the market will surprise you. Trouble is, it is just chopping up and down. Is it going to turn here? It did. You don't know where it's going to push up. Is it going to turn here? It did, but only temporarily. Is it going to push up? Who knows? We're hitting support. So it's just really hard to know. I think part of the thing about trading, especially from a Pat's point of view, going for a small move, it's so imperative that you get the direction right. If you can get the direction right, the setup is kind of the last piece of the puzzle. But because it does so much of this, and the market has a habit of overlapping itself, it's so hard sometimes to get it right. And you have to get it right with Pats, because our stop goes below the signal bar, you've got no room for error. And if it's a slightly weak position, we know the market's got a habit of triggering you, coming down and stopping you out, picking off your liquidity. And then moving in direction. But it's so important. The setup really is the kind of minor part to it. The most important part is getting the context right in that direction. If you get the context right, you're 2/3 of the way there. But at the moment, it's just pretty hard. I'd have guessed after this it was probably going to push up, but then we get no signal bar. We did on the range chart, and that works straight away. So maybe that'd have been an option, but I'm just not a fan of trading in ranges, tops and bottoms. I much prefer higher lows and lower highs, but we just didn't get one there. It continued up, and the tops here we haven't really had lower highs, and the bottoms it's very wicky. We haven't had higher lows. There was a higher low there, but at the time I had my chart down here, and that was a failed breakout. So my gut feeling is we were going to get one the side, and we kind of did. You'd have made a couple of points there, maybe 2.25, I think it was, but I just wouldn't take that because of this, what looked like a breakout at the time. And obviously we were down here then, so kind of that's where I was. So a breakout at the top, I expected one, and we did. But then obviously when we start to go a bit sideways here, I think other traders I can see on the Discords tend to go in with that one, and it kind of makes sense now. So we are above here now. So my kind of instinct that it's likely to push up after we've had these kind of 2 pushes down and the big move up. The trouble is obviously you got to find an entry. And with Powell speaking, you never quite know what he's going to say and whether the market's going to have a quick spike. And what I will say of experience, any times I've had spikes, never tends to go in your favour for some reason. Yeah, I've actually changed mine a little bit. I've gone up to the 15. I'd say the 12. Where is it? The 12 would be okay at the moment. You've got the 10. There's not a lot of difference between the two. But what I found is when I used to have the 10, sometimes second entry shorts that are quite tight together that look okay, trigger and get stopped out. And what I found, if you get that ATR similar to the ATR on the 2000 tick, you can trust the trades a little bit more. I've just happened to have it on the 15. But that ATR is at 3 points now on the 12 range. So now I look at that, there's a second entry long there, which worked. Now, after we'd had a break out the bottom here, my gut feeling is we're going to get a break out the top, and we did. So there is quite a nice looking second entry there. It triggered, it came back down, but it didn't break below. The only trouble is when you're coming off support, it's a bit hard to trust something like that. But the trouble is now I know it worked. It's hard to say, but or you could say there's a small range with a little breakout, and that possibly maybe confirmed a little bit of a channel there. Possibly it's not. It's easy after the fact. Use the 10 on the NQ. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for this. You know, it definitely clears things up a bit. The only trouble is, because I'm still relatively new to it, I find it hard to trust it wholeheartedly. But I am getting more and more. That's why I'm kind of keeping them side by side and just starting to slowly gain some trust in it. But yeah, I think if you get that, obviously the 12 just means 12 ticks, which is why it's showing 3 points on the ATR, 3.126 on the ATR. And it's within a half a point. So I think if you got it within a half a point. But what I had it, when I had that 10 range bar, sometimes we had second entries, which didn't work. And I noticed they didn't work when we had a 10 range bar and we had an ATR of maybe 4. It was a bit too much. But I think if you keep the two within a half a point or close to it, I think you can trust these setups a lot more. Smaller targets. Yeah, it can overlap sometime, can't it? What I liked about the 10 or the 12 is I would kind of go with the... So it's 12 at the moment, and that's kind of where I like to be, going for 3 points. So at the moment, ATRs say 2.5. So 2.5 points, I think, is okay to go for. Kind of use it as a guide. But good setups do really move well. In a good setup, you've got no, even you consider that a good setup. It's hard to say, but they do. If you'd have got an ear, I mean, you're out there. It's not a huge amount to go for, to be honest with you. You're out comfortably before the high. So there are times where I might get out early if I don't think there's enough room. I certainly wouldn't snub a trade because it had half a point less, but generally I go for 3 points. I just kind of like it. It's close to 1-to-1 as I can get it. Yeah, I mean, I kind of go through it at the end of the day, and I'm looking at it as I go along and comparing it. So I am kind of back testing it to a degree. Back testing it is really just practicing it and going through the setups and stuff. Ideally doing it like that. And but I have done that a bunch of times, and that's why I took an interest in it. But unless it's obvious, I tend to not trade it at the moment. But I like to have the two to compare, because if we get a second entry long, and the context looks the same here, then I'll have a crack at it. My gut feeling is this is going to push up, but with Powell speaking at the moment, and we get above this, and then we start to consolidate already. So I just can't trust the fact. My gut instinct is telling me push up, that we're going to get a move up. Just looking at the kind of push up and the consolidation, and you can see overall it looks like 2 legs lower, 2 attempts. That's the lowest we got, and then it reversed and it's pushed right up and out the top. So I still think this is likely going to push out. How far it goes up, I don't know, but we're not a million miles away from all-time highs. It's amazing how quick all that's recovered. When Trump started talking about look how big that drop was. And that drop started early April. Well, the low point of it was early April. Now, 2.5 months, we've recovered about 80% of it back, maybe, and some. But what I do like about this is if we've had 2 legs back and a really strong move up. So we are not far away from all-time highs. I'll be surprised if we haven't hit all-time highs in a week. So yeah, we're not far away. If you add yesterday's and today's so far, we would be there. So we're not far away. So where we are now, we are 147 points. So that's nothing really in the grand scheme of things. So, and not only that is we do seem to have something like this, don't we? So the trouble is we are getting close to the top. So before we hit that, mind you, a lot of the times when we get these spiking channel, we'll push up into them, go like that, and then rocket out the top. So we may, you know, come back here and test this again. It's hard to say really, but when this thing recovers, it recovers relatively quickly. I'm surprised that's all it's taken. I mean, so in 2 and a bit months, we've gone up 1,250 points. That's a fair old move, that. So, you know, when we do get negative stuff for whatever reason, whether it's COVID, whether it's a credit crunch, when things do start to settle, great time to buy. Once we're down here, as soon as, you know, the things about when things start to settle a little about the with the tariffs, I suppose the smart traders are buying here. Great, you get it at a nice cheap price. You know, it's almost always going to recover up to, you know, relatively quick. So, you know, from a buyer's point of view, down here, it'd been a great time to buy. You know, the tariffs aren't going to go forever. Trump's going to crucify himself if he went on and on and on, because sooner or later, the more these plummet, the more people get pissed off with it. But great time to buy, and then we had that push up and then initial drop, and then but we've recovered nearly all of this, certainly 80% of it in 3 months. So we're not far away at all from these from the all-time highs, and then it'll probably just continue on up again. So not far at all. What's that? Every time I swap charts, it seems to revert. What's going on here? Okay. This does look like it's continuing on up, but the trouble is it's getting up and then it's struggling a bit. It's going up and it's struggling, but it... That, I think, looks a little better. Up here. I don't think that was a bad entry. I'd have preferred the higher low, which we didn't really get. See, you mentioned, someone mentioned that trade there, the short there. It actually didn't look too bad here. I love it when you get a bar like that, which closes tight below there, and that worked really well. I think that was what you were talking about. I'm sure it was 3 o'clock. Yeah, it was. So it didn't look too bad on this chart, but because we bounced off the bottom, and you may have argued a triple test, just hard to know. But it looked a lot cleaner here than it did here. I just don't like this. Something I don't like about it. But yeah, that was the trade there you talked about, and there it didn't look too bad. Was it? No, was it that one you were talking about? No, I'm pretty sure it was there, wasn't it? Less success at going for 4 on 10 range, yeah. Good setups go well. You look at Dan's setups. They go really well. Just have a look. Mind you, do you know what? He actually took that long off the bottom that I left the higher low. Was it there? He took that higher low. I left it. Well, he marked it. I don't know whether he took it. It went for two or something. So I don't think the setup was particularly bad, but at the time I had that down here. So we'd had a break out the top, and I expected a break out the bottom, which we did at the time. So I was right to leave it because it wouldn't have worked for me. You're taking ticks. Yeah, I mean, I didn't, come to taking 3 points willy-nilly. I did some research. I looked at charts. I looked at trades and worked out. I did the numbers as well, worked out if I'd have taken a point, 2 points and 3 points, where would I be money-wise? I looked at max charts. I looked at Dan's and Marco's and just looked. The thing is, if you go for a point like Dan does, Mac does, I go for 3 times that. So I can afford to win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose 1, and still make more points, point for point than Mac. If I win 2 trades in a row, Mac wins 2 trades in a row, I'm up 6 points, Mac's up 2 points. I've got 4 points spare. And that would be a 66% win rate. So it's a no-brainer for me to go for 3 points. I get more than a 66% win rate. Now, you may argue that Mac takes more trades, but he says he'll only take 1 to 2 trades a day. He rarely takes 3, so, I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what somebody does, really. There's this chatter around Lucas and works for him. Absolutely. It's not everyone's cup of tea. Now, if I go through Dan's trades for the last month, I would say 95% of them, at least, go for 3 points or more. So that is doubling his profit. So the numbers say he'll make way more money. But he's happy doing what he's doing, and it works for him. So, it's my opinion to go for more. It's not everybody. So you got to do what's comfortable with you. And with time and experience, and the more time, you take it easy, Chris. With experience and more time on the charts, and you see how far trades may have gone, you may decide to change your mind. I didn't do it straight away. It took me about a year, I'd say, before I started going for 1.5 points, and then I went for 2, and then I upped it to 3. And I know Thomas Wade now takes a lot of trades for 3 points. So, with time and experience, you kind of feel your way. Is it going to be more beneficial? And so on. So, but yeah, Thomas Wade showed a trade the other day where he went for 3 points a live trade. Oh, I'm talking about trading in general, Pat. But yeah, it's a bit different on the range chart. The good thing about the range chart is you can manage your risk a lot better, because if I've got mine on the 12 bar, I know every bar is 12 ticks, so I've got no surprises. Where the trouble is, if you took that little tiny short there, it's 1.75 points with a tick above and below it. If you took, another bar, so let me find something else. If you took that bar there, it's bloody huge, or one of these. So you don't quite know what you get yourself in for sometimes. So that bar there, you're risking like 5.75 points. It's very hard to manage your risk. Now, you'll hear a lot of traders say, keep your risk the same every time you take a trade. It's almost impossible with Pats. Now, you could turn down a trade every time it gets a bit too big. But I think a good way to mitigate this is to know exactly how big your bar size is, so you can work out. But, this has its little quirks. It's not flawless. In a lot of cases, it's better and cleaner, but it does take a little bit of time to get used to it and get to trust it. I wouldn't jump straight on something like this and start trading it. I'm doing it back to back at the moment, so I'm kind of getting... I've still got an understanding where I think prices are going. Mac even explains this shit. It's easy to get for. Yeah, it is. Absolutely it is. Absolutely. But what I say is if I take 2 trades, I'm up 6 points, Mac's up 2. I've got 4 points spare, so I can win 2, lose 1, win 2, lose 1, and have a 66% win rate, or 63, whatever, 66% win rate, and still make more points. So it's not everyone's cup of tea. I absolutely get that, and I'd never say to anyone, you've got to do what's right for you. If you see a trade that you like better than me, you've got to take it. And you kind of then experience your own way of doing things. And then, you know, I remember I mentioned it to Dan that I was going for 2 points or whatever quite a while ago now, a few years ago. And he went, oh, you know, I mentioned about 6 ticks and he went, oh, I find it hard to sit through 4 ticks. Now he takes 6. He goes for 6 ticks. So with time and experience, if you look back on 50 of your trades and 49 of them made 3 points and you're only going for a point, you know, you may then decide to go, well, if I'd have taken this, you know. Another downside as a newer trader going for 4 ticks. Even a bad trade will go for 4 ticks sometimes, and sometimes that can make you think the trade was okay. What I will say is if you go for 3 points and you take a bad trade, it's almost always going to punish you. If you go for a good trade, it'll work comfortably. So, you know, sometimes going for 4 ticks, you can still, you know, take winning trades with poor setups. If you got the complete direction wrong, it can still make you 4 ticks. So I don't know whether that kind of gives you a false sense of security. It's hard to say, isn't it? But, you know, I had this thing with Mac once, and I said, it was an email I sent to Mac about 3 years ago. I said, I won 4 trades in a row and I felt fantastic. I was up 4 points. And I took a trade that the signal bar was 3.5 points and a tick above, tick below with commissions. I was in the red. And I said, what if I go for 6 ticks? But I put a limit order in 2 ticks back and get a better entry. And he said, you can do that. That will give you a bit more profit with the same, you know, with only requiring the same movement. But sometimes you'll miss out on good trades. He said, when you've been trading a while, you'll find your own way of doing for it, what works with you. And if you remember, about 9 months ago, Mac made a video and said, if you can only afford to trade 1 or 2 contracts, you've got to go for more points. Because the maths doesn't work otherwise. You guys remember that? Now, I think he mentioned 2.5 points, something like that. So that came from the horse's mouth, saying that you've got to go for more points if you're only trading 1 or 2 contracts, which is kind of what I do anyway. So I'd love to find out where that video was. I should have saved that, actually, but I can't remember when it was. It was about 9 months ago. But you have got to make your own minds up. But, you know, when you're first learning, if you're learning from Mac, just go for a point or go for 6 or whatever you want to do. The only issue is sometimes even with a poor trade, you can still win. And sometimes that can let you think that that trade might have been okay. I don't know. I don't know what I think. I know I have my opinions. But I've been trading long enough now to have a valid opinion. But, you know, it's not for everyone. You've got to kind of make your own mind up. Ultimately, if you're making money at trading, you've got my respect already because I know how hard it is. So whether you're taking 4 ticks or 12 ticks or 25 ticks, it's more important that that's kind of the least of your worries if you've got problems with emotions. That's something you can adjust at the flick of a switch, but obviously the emotional bit, it doesn't matter what you go for, is if you take a loss, you end up blowing an account. It's kind of irrelevant, you know. I'd love to find that video that Mac did that. Absolutely. The profit bit, you can adjust that with time. That'll come in time. You may look at your chart and thinking, the last 50 trades I took all went for 4 points plus. Why am I taking a point? You'll find your own way in your own decision-making process. Or you may just stick to the same thing if you're successful. I wouldn't say someone is right for doing something or wrong. So I'm pretty convinced now this is pushing up. We're certainly in an uptrend. We've pushed up and bounced twice, so I'll be looking for a long setup somewhere. So in an ideal world down here, but as long as it was near the EMA. Trouble is, when we have these, I always feel more comfortable taking them off because you never quite know whether it's going to decide to trigger and come down to the bottom. But yeah, I mean, you can change from 1 point to 1.5 point to 2 points. You can change that with a flick of a switch. You really can. But the most important thing is get the understanding. It's getting that direction right. If you've got the direction right and a strong setup, it won't only going for 3 points. It'll go for 30. It'll go for plenty of points. Really good, strong setups where other traders get in move really well. So, you know, whether you go for a point, 2 points or 3 points, good setups will comfortably make them all. So my gut feeling after this move up and these two legs down that it was likely to push higher. And so far this looks okay. So I'd be looking for a long. So I'm just going to open up an order just submitted. In case one comes. $99. Ah, why minus sim here?
Order cancelled.
Why minus sim here? Let me just do that again.
Order submitted.
Okay.
Order cancelled.
So got nothing there. Excuse me just a sec. Sorry about that. Tony. Yes, mate. That's why I took a week off. When I lost those bunch of accounts, those 6 accounts, I just never recovered. And I got a few bloom. So that's why I took the week off. So I've just got the 3 at the moment. The two Apex PAs and the one Traderify. That's why I took a week off, mate. It just wasn't working. Because I had such a great 5 months, and then I moved me stop. I panicked and then blew those accounts. I got a few more bloom, so I needed to take a break. But I've come back nice and refreshed, so it happens. I'm just not throwing a lot of money at the moment until I can get another payment. I want to sort of prove to myself that I'm in the right frame of mind now, so another month, hopefully I should get another payment. So I won't get nothing for June, that's going to be a fact, but July I should, and then once I get some more money I'm going to pick up a few more accounts, so I want to kind of do it slowly. It's okay getting a bunch more to do the same, but yeah, it does. Because I had 5 really good months, I felt great, everything was going nice, and then when I lost those accounts, it gets in your head. And if you come straight back to the charts, you get a few more accounts. That frustration just tends to make you lash out. And I blew about another 3 or 4 accounts, and I just thought it ain't working. So I had the week off, and then last Friday I got 3 evaluations, passed 2 of them, and that gave me the PAs. And then I still had a Traderify account from a week or so ago, just before. So I thought, I just don't want to throw a load more money at it. I just want to earn my way back. It's so easy to throw money at it, and it doesn't teach anything. I think you've got to see the value of, if you can't see the value of having 1 or 2 accounts, how are you going to kind of see them if you've got 10? So I thought, when I get some more money, then I'm going to add maybe 3 or 4 to it and kind of do that. It's our day to trade today, really. There's nothing that I'd have taken there. Nothing there. Chop, 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 nothing there. There's a few maybe on the range, but what on the range bars, but it's still chopping, so it's just not filling me full of confidence at the moment. And I don't mind that. I'm okay with being a bit overcautious. I think it's refreshing to feel overcautious and in control, because the last week or 2, I was just doing some stupid stuff. So now I've had that break. I can't emphasize, if you're doing stupid things out of frustration, take a week off. Couple of days I don't think does it. A full week, I just feel so refreshed. And it does feel like it's lifted a bit of a weight off my shoulders. So let me just have a look here. So there is a little bit of support there. I'm just not sure at the moment. It's a bit choppy. The trouble is, it may come down to here. Is it going to push up there? It may well do. Could be something like that with a break, but then we got a new high. So the Traderify funded account is monthly, or is it? The straights are funded. No, it's a one-off, bud. It's a one-off, and that's all you pay. So at the moment, I've got one of those at the moment. I actually don't think it's too bad, because if you work out how many what's it should below, so I think it's 509, take away 30%. That's not right. Let's try that again. 509, take away 30%. It's $356. So for us UK guys, I think it's divided by, isn't it 1.36 at the moment? So it's about £260 thereabouts. But for us, I think it's 105 just for the PA fee. That leaves about 155. If you get 5 evaluations and pass one of them, you pay the same amount of money. But I do like the fact that when you get to $3,000, you can withdraw 2. So it's a good offer, I think. Yeah, it's very different. If you're not making money, or you're not able to hold them, at least for a while, I wouldn't do them. You know, if you're relatively new, I know you've been around for a while, but if you're relatively new, I would stick with Apexes and Bullanox or whatever, just as cheap as you can, just while you're kind of learning and getting a taste for it. 2 weeks ago, I think I paid 3. Yeah, it was a little bit more when I think it was 33%. They tend to go between 30 and 35%. But it is nice to just jump straight onto live. But I do love the fact that when you get to $3,000, you can withdraw 2. You get to Apex $3,000, you can only withdraw 9. So you get double. I know there's a small 90-10 split, but you still get double that you do of Apex. So I think for people who can hold the accounts and who are making a bit of money, I think it's a good option to add those to you. And I certainly think it's good to diversify as well. You know, in an ideal world, I'd like 5 Apex, 5 Trader 5, 5 My Funded, 5 Take Profit, somewhere along those lines. That way you're not got all your eggs in one basket. So there is a bounce there, but we're at the top of this channel. I would much prefer to come down here. So if we can get a second entry long, stopping out that, I may look for a higher low. But I think you can pretty much guess there's a good chance that's going to get stopped out. You know, channel break, new high. It's only a first entry that. It may hold, but it's not for me that. I've taken trades like that just don't work. And when you go up by a few ticks and start to pull back, we may get a higher low, it may work, but I want something down here really. But yeah, I just, even talking about it now, I feel so much more refreshed. But when I lost those accounts, I was actually okay. I didn't feel that bad. But when I started trading again, I could sense that frustration was there, and it was making me do stupid things. And I just come. I don't like taking time off work trading, but if all you're doing is just doing silly things, it's the only answer really. And if you look at people like Mac, he has a week off every so often, doesn't he? You've got to get away from the charts, especially if you're frustrated, because it really does give you a clean perspective. So if you'd have taken that one, it triggered you and stopped you out. So possible second entry long. I don't like this as a second entry long. I'd prefer a higher low because it does look like 2 legs, but you could argue maybe something like that. I don't think there is, but I would prefer a higher low. I prefer to come down here a little bit lower. There is a bit of support there, so there may be a little bit of liquidity there. So this to me looks like it may be a small channel down. So on that chart, let's have a look. I haven't even seen any penguin type setups on the MES. I am taking penguin setups. I've got this on the MES. In fact, that wants to be set too. So if I do see any, I'm only trading them on 2 micros because I think penguin system is brilliant. And sometimes if I don't see any type of pat settings, I don't think it's an issue. I wouldn't trade a completely different strategy, but this is so close to pats that I don't mind trading, maybe risking $100 on a couple of micros. So I have that up there as well. So if I do happen to see any types of move up with a couple of legs, there's not a lot I've seen here really that I think I would have taken at the moment. So I have not paid too much attention to it this afternoon. So it's nothing you can do here really. It's just a bit uncertain. So not only that, we are bouncing off here, I think it looks like. Maybe not quite. Not quite. It's getting a little bit congested here. It may push up from there, but I would prefer it to drop below here and then wait for the higher low. Should I actually on the it's okay, it's all right. What time is it? See, look at this MES chart. I don't think that's a bad trade, actually. It is a second entry long. Once it breaks above there, mind you, that's the signal bar, really, isn't it? But that entry, I don't think it's a terrible trade. Just doesn't look very good here, unfortunately. Yeah, they do. That's a good point, actually. Well said. Yeah, I don't know how many times you say to yourself, why didn't I take that? When you realise it worked. That's a useful comment, that is. Yeah, it's very easy to go, that was a nice trade, isn't it? Yeah, we are. I just noted that. That's what I thought we might have pulled back from there. I mean, really, you'd want a triple test here, I think, wouldn't you? Touch and then a touch. But the trouble is, there's no reason why it won't just push up. You just kind of never know. Unfortunately, it's not a lot you can do about that. Okay, excuse me just for a second. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll only be a minute. Okay. We've bounced off this area 3 times now. I wouldn't want to take a short. I can't see a break from this channel, so it may just want to bounce a few times before it continues up. If it does, I don't know. To be honest with you, it might just push up now, but we do seem to be finding some support here. So after those 2 big pushes up, there are bound to have been traders short in that maybe for the day and trying to get that run down to the bottom. So as it gets closer to this, there's probably going to be traders adding to their positions possibly. So after 2 clear legs up like that and a big bearish bar, and we've broken the last week's highs comfortably, there's bound to be traders maybe getting in there and trying to run this thing down. So we do seem to be finding some support here. Let's have a look what bookmap is showing. Yeah, there's a ton of liquidity up here. 42.50. So around about here. And a load more up here as well. So I'd like to see a bit of a correction here. We are. It may not have enough buyers to push that above this. So I'd like to see a bit of a correction, or maybe a couple of attempts to go lower, and then maybe get some more traders in to go long. There is orders at 32, which is Cellulite. 32.5 there is orders, which is around about here. So dropping below this and that. So Nut is in a long trade at the moment. How's the other guy doing? I haven't seen many trades around today on any of the Discords. Thomas hasn't taken a trade today. I think Dan's marked one, but I don't think he's taken it. Marco's taken a trade. Quite sure where he's taken it. He took it above that bullish bar there. Wasn't the worst trade in the world, I don't think. So he's got his points anyway. It is a channel with a break-in new low. I just don't like this. Dan didn't take it. So we're clearly finding support up here, so I wouldn't even consider that. It's going to be one of those days today. Oh, no, I've got no issues taking it and not taking a trade. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm just pleased I played the game right and haven't done anything stupid. I think I'm going to knock it on the head there, folks. I may come back for an hour later. I'll see. Not the easiest day today. I mean, that first part of it was just choppy as hell. And unfortunately, it's continued a little bit. Bit of chop there, bit of chop there. Not easy day. It happens sometimes. Obviously, we had Powell speaking earlier, but you know, I kind of had an inkling that after this push up, we were going to consolidate a bit, couple of legs down, and then push up. And it is doing it as of yet. But obviously, we got to contend with the overnight highs. So it's slowly working its way up there, but there's just not a lot today. So a day like this really is probably a good idea to take the day up. Well, finish early. I am as well. How long are we going for? 2 hours and 3/4. I may have a look later after dinner, see if there's anything going on, but not an easy day today. So if you've held your patience, good for you. Yeah, you too, bud. Absolutely. The one thing about not taking as a trade, you're never going to lose a penny, and that's always a good thing. So if there's nothing obvious, you just can't do anything. If you take a risky trade, you've got the chance it's going to go against you. So yeah, you take it easy, guys. So last day of the Apex 80% off today. You know my code ukft. If you use it or you have used it, it is appreciated. So that finishes tonight. You're not in a rush to it. No, I'm not. Taking that week off has cleared the cobwebs a bit. I feel like a new man. So it does help. I got to say, I think it was the year before last, I took the whole of Christmas off. I think it was about 10 days, and I felt great when I came back. And I haven't really taken any time off so far this year, apart from the odd day. But usually that day, you know, something's happening at home or whatever, apart from the odd bank holiday or something like that. But I haven't really taken a break. But I'm going to make a point of, I think, every 4 months, which is 3 times a year, taking it, if you didn't work that out. Don't know why I explained that. Every 4 months, just taking a week off, just shut down the charts and getting away, because it really does refresh you. So I feel good anyway. So I'm quite happy. I'm quite content sat here. But yeah, absolutely. The trouble is when things aren't going right, you've got a tendency to snap at the markets, and it's never going to work. You may get away with it once or twice, but then the other sort of 9 or 10 times, 8 or 9 times, it's just going to crucify you. market's very, very clever at picking off weak positions. So if your patience goes and you decide to jump in, chances are it's going to get you. It's uncanny. If you wanted to gamble or take a risk on something, you would have way more chance of making money in a casino than you would at trading. It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, a week every 4 months. Obviously, that leaves a bit of time for Christmas, but I'm going to make it a point because I've never really done it 2 weeks a year. I mean, if I was going on holiday, which I don't think we are this year, I would take a bit more time off, but just to get away from it. Even sometimes when I've had a couple of days off, I'm still watching the charts, but I had 4 days last week where I didn't trade. If I was downstairs, I flicked, on the Discord to see what was doing, but it'll take a month. Yeah, but it is important to clear out any little bit of frustration that's lingering. Trade, all traders take time off. But I've got into a bad habit of not taking any time off, really, apart from the odd day or there. And it's not enough, really, to refresh you. So I'm going to take another week, I think, in a few months, and then obviously Christmas, because I've realised how much beneficial it is to me. It puts me in a much more of a relaxed mood. And, when you're frustrated, trading is just, it's a bad combination. I noticed as well, I was drinking a bit more. I was even having the odd drink at the stream as well. And it's not good because I was frustrated. So I've stopped that. So there you go. So I'm going to leave you guys to it. Best of luck. I hope something happens and you get out of this horrible, slow moving stuff. But failing that, have a good evening. Stay safe. And we will catch up same time tomorrow. Bye for now.